Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons and the 1988 fantasy film Willow. The name of that world is Anduin. It was on StarWars.com as the official name of that world, Willow. And why it should be and a reason why it should be the Dungeons & Dragons official setting. So what is the reason why Anduin, the Willow world of the 1988 fantasy movie starring Warwick Davis and Val Kilmer, why it should be the official setting of Dungeons & Dragons? Well, here's the reason. The reason is, specifically, the reason is streaming wars, the streaming wars. So what are the streaming wars? Okay, so the streaming wars are a very, very interesting thing that is happening in American politics right now. It's really, really fascinating. So basically, Netflix just shattered every business model in the world and went to a subscription base. Netflix achieved with the subscription model a level of success that had never been seen in any business ever. So, and now every business company in the world is like, I don't want to sell you one thing. I want you to give me your credit card and forget that you gave me your credit card. And every month I sip 10, 20 bucks out of your pocket. You never even notice it. And that's the model. And that's never going to end, right? And maybe it goes up, maybe that 10 bucks goes down to $6 and maybe it goes up to $16. I don't care the company doesn't care if it goes down to $6. It doesn't care if it goes up to $16. All it cares about is it never ends. And the subscription model is huge. And Netflix, Netflix didn't invent the subscription model. Netflix mastered the subscription model. Netflix made so what Netflix really did was it created a platform that's where the product was so good that it's pretty much ubiquitous. The possum under my porch has Netflix. It's just everybody's got Netflix. Virtually no one doesn't have Netflix. It's a global product. The real numbers is, I think it's between 60 and 70 million subscribers. It's a huge number. And honestly, that number is much, much larger because according to many, many, many articles, every single Netflix password is 4 people are using it, right? So the reality is it's 250 million, 500 million people are using Netflix. It's absolutely massive. It's by far the most successful streaming network, okay? Now, it has major competitors. From the gate, it had another competitor, which was Amazon Prime, okay? Amazon Prime has done virtually nothing to compete with Netflix. By the way, this all has to do with Dungeons & Dragons, and it all has to do with Anduin, the Willow world, and it all has to do with what the official setting of Dungeons & Dragons should be. We'll circle it back. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so you have Netflix, and then you have Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime has been there. It has been a competitor to Netflix, but it has struggled. It has struggled massively. It has not struggled to get content, but the problem is it gets the dregs. Amazon Prime just really struggles to have shows that people watch. It's got lots of shows. It has new shows all the time. I just watched a show that they spent a lot of money on. They heavily advertised it. It was called Troop Zero. I really enjoyed it. It was a very strange little film, but it was really art house. And if I watched that thing and I told no one to watch it, because I was like, 4 people in the world are going to like this movie, and I know, this is not a juicy cheeseburger movie. This is caviar, and 6 people are going to like this thing. And almost all their content is like that. It's the very bottom or the very best, and they're still really, really struggling. So now, who are some of the other Netflix competitors? You have CBS All Access. I think Warner Brothers has one now. At minimum, they have a DC streamer. There's all and there are YouTube. YouTube has a pay model called YouTube Red. They're a streaming competitor. Apple now has a streaming service. NBC is coming out with a streaming service called Peacock. Everybody and his brother has a streaming service. And now, here, let's talk about the big dog. And this is the real reason why Anduin should be Anduin, the Willow World, 1988 film Willow World, should be the Dungeons & Dragons official setting is Disney Plus. So, Willow, 1988 Willow, that film is sitting on Disney Plus right now. And Disney Plus has already announced that they have plans to make it into a television series. That's a big, big, big deal. Okay, why is that a big deal? Well, money. All right, so we all love Dungeons & Dragons, and we want Dungeons & Dragons to do well. Actually, I think all reasonable fans want Dungeons & Dragons to do well. There is always this subset of fans who are like, PHP is $50. It's too much. That you're out of your mind. $50 for the PhD is a deal and a half. You could play a 5-year campaign with $50. It's a great, 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 great deal. But the reality is, there are a few people who don't understand basic math and who begrudge Hasbro Gaming, which is Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro Gaming, they begrudge them the measly profits they gain. By the way, Hasbro Gaming is making very little profit off of Dungeons & Dragons. The entire tabletop role-playing industry is making between $70 and $80 million a year. That is a massively small amount of money. It is ridiculously small. That is like half the profit margin on one AAA video game, right? And that's our entire industry. That's how tiny our industry is, okay? So, we really need some scale here. And that's where the streaming war comes in. So if you choose Anduin, the 1988 Willow world, as the official Dungeons & Dragons world, you connect Dungeons & Dragons, you connect the official setting of Dungeons & Dragons to a property that is going to have millions and millions and millions of dollars invested, okay? There's no question that, especially after the success of Mandalorian, that the budget for this is going to be 7 figures. That means between 10 million and 99 million. And there is a distinct possibility it could be 8 figures. 8 figures. Wait. You know what? I'm sorry, I'm getting this wrong. 6 figures is $100,000. 7 figures is $1 million. It's going to be 8 figures. It's guaranteed a minimum 8 figures. That means 10 million to 99 million. Okay? There's a possibility this could be a 9-figure deal, right? Between $100 million and $500 million. Now, why am I saying that somebody could invest $500 million in Anduin, the Willow world? Why Disney could choose to do that? There's very good reasons why Disney could choose to do that. One, their competitor, Amazon Prime. There have already been reports that there are estimates that $500 million was the cost of the new Lord of the Rings sequel that Amazon Prime is creating, okay? Now, if you're like, $500 million, that's a lot of money, Scott. It is a lot of money, but it totally makes sense. $500 million is what was paid for two rerun series recently. Right now, to get a 5-year contract just to stream Seinfeld or Friends, you're going to pay $400 or $500 million. That's just to stream those on your services. It made international news when Friends went off of Netflix and it went over somewhere else. I don't even know where Friends went to. Somebody has it now for streaming, and that was a very big deal. It was a huge deal, and there was $500 million involved because people watched that show like crazy in reruns. Okay, and so Amazon, they were saying that there's estimates. I think these were estimates because I don't think it was disclosed. That like the breakdown for the Lord of the Rings property, the show was like $250 million. What went right to the Tolkien estate, and $250 million would be used to actually make the show. It was $250 million check right to the Tolkien estate just to make the show, right? Like that was their cut, right? And then $250 million to actually pay the actors and roll the tape and make the costumes and get the locations and all that. That's a lot of money. Willow could be the same thing, and the reason why is there's a big gaping gap. There's a big opportunity now that Game of Thrones is gone, and people want a fantasy show, right? And the issue is, sorry for saying right, I'm working on that in my speech pattern. So basically, you have this situation, excuse me, basically you have this situation where they're going to create this world, this Anduin Willow world, and they're going to put the show on, but it could be much, much bigger than Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones was very limited because it was rated R. And guess what? Rated R doesn't make a lot of money compared to family fare. If you think I'm wrong, Birds of Prey, rated R, did pretty bad at the box office. The worst DCEU movie rating ever. Like, it did not do well. It was not good. It is the last ranking DCE. Its opening box office was the worst DCEU box office in history. Thank you very much, rated R rating. Yeah, rated R does not do good. Ask Fox, who had 2 Deadpool movies and went out of business. Right? Like, the Fox movies. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. So there you have it. Now, so if Dungeons and Dragons pursues and goes, if Hasbro Gaming gets their best salespeople on this and goes to Disney and says, listen, you guys are building up this property. We are Dungeons and Dragons. We are the #1 name in tabletop role-playing games. We sell more games of Dungeons and Dragons than every other tabletop role-playing game combined, right? And they can do that. They can roll in and say, we're the big dog in the industry. You are Disney. You are the big dog in entertainment. Let's get this together. Let's get this done. We can make Anduin, the Willow world, the official setting for Dungeons and Dragons. That's big news for us. That's big news for you. And it works for everybody. It's a huge opportunity. It's win-win. All that is my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think that's a good reason to make Anduin the Willow world, the official world of Dungeons & Dragons? I do. Tell me if I'm right or wrong in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.